You know what's funny is that the Democrats have what's called sanctuary cities. So what they do is they go out and they, let's say that a person who came into the country illegally, an illegal migrant comes in, and he commits a crime. The city arrests them, maybe keeps them in jail a couple days, maybe like a couple hours, and then they let them go. They don't treat them like you and I would be treated if we were citizens, right? Like those of us that are citizens, we would be going to jail. What they do is they let them go and don't turn them over to ICE or Border Patrol so they can deport them. So those are called sanctuary cities. And then those people go and wreak havoc throughout our neighborhoods. And what Ben Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, did is he passed an ordinance, the mayor, or a bill, whatever it is. I'm not that smart, right? Giving $51 million to illegal immigrants. Instead of helping the poverty-stricken south side of Chicago or the west side of Chicago, or fixing the education system in Chicago, or fixing the infrastructure, or anything like that, or giving food stamps to those who need it, or increasing the benefits people get. No, instead, or housing the homeless, they gave it to illegal migrants. So the black residents of Chicago are really angry. And they've been mad for a long time. They've been mad for like 2 years. So let's go over, and we're going to use a clip from Jimmy Dore. Let's go over what these men and women are saying, because they're not happy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
You spent over $574 million on illegal immigrants here in Chicago, Illinois since 2022.
$574 million. Over $500 million, almost $600 million on illegal migrants instead of Chicagoans.
Now, you still feel like you have to harbor these illegals, which is not a good idea. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to challenge Tom Homan on this, because he's trying to clean up our cities, Mr. Brandon Johnson. Now, let's just remind everybody here that Brandon Johnson is terrible with the budget. How is this $40 million credit line is going to work exactly? Because the key word is credit. So how much will we be using from this $40 million? And the real question is, how much will we be paying back? Now, you want to sit here, you and J.B. Pritzker want to puff out your chest and fight Tom Homan. We need Tom Homan here in Chicago. We need Donald Trump. And I don't want to see people like Pam Bundy and Cash Patel, haul you up out of here and become prosecuted. I don't want to see that happen. But they will do their job if they have to, Brandon Johnson. Now, we are $1 billion in debt. That's absolutely insane.
$1 billion in debt. They spent almost $600 million on illegal migrants. And they still feel like they should do more. Not for the citizens of Chicago, but for illegal migrants.
Kamala Harris, she spent $1 billion on her campaign less than a year, and she's $20 million in debt. So it's looking like Democrats are bad with money. Now, you ignored me for 10 to 15 seconds last time I was speaking, and I really did not appreciate that at all. But I got a Christmas present for you. Let's remind the people of Chicago that Brandon Johnson spent $32,000 in campaign funds on haircuts and makeup. So I got an early Christmas present for you, Brandon Johnson. This is some makeup for you right here. You got some rouge. You got the makeup brush right there, so you can save these people some money for crying out loud. Now, let me tell you people, I'm going to be serious here.
Oh, that's funny. And by the way, they spend $1 billion. They're bad with money. They're doing this on credit. They don't actually have the cash to do this.
Need to start voting different in these cities like New York and Chicago. Stop voting these people in. It's not Democrat versus Republican anymore. It is populist versus establishment. It is the populist versus the establishment. Stop letting them trick you into the race baiting when it comes to Brandon Johnson. Oh, black people need help too. Trump want to hurt black people. What are you talking about? We're legal here. We are legal.
Jesus Christ. That was awesome. We're legal. You're not helping us. This is what Democrats always do. Oh my God, blacks, transgenders, gays, women, abortion. Ah! They don't talk about people with disabilities, and then they don't help you. This is the Democratic Party. They don't care about you. They don't help you. They don't. And you can see it based on their policies.
Chicago has always been a place that immigrants, migrants, and refugees have called home. It's a place where migrants and refugees from all over the world, from Jim Crow South to the furthest reaches of the globe, have come to build lives and contribute to everything that makes our city great. For 100.
What that says is that Brandon Johnson is proud and braggadocious about the fact that Chicago is a sanctuary city. And he's talking about immigrant justice and all of that, which, look, I understand if you got to come to the country because you want to escape war-torn countries, poverty-stricken countries, famine, death, starvation, conflict, all of that. Or maybe you just want a better life. But you got to come legally. Because then what happens is this, where these people give away our tax dollars and give them to those people that don't pay taxes here. And sometimes they do because the corporations allow this, but we don't receive the benefits and they get more benefits than we do. And by the way, Greg Abbott said Texas is not a sanctuary state. Austin, Houston, Fort Worth, Amarillo, Arlington, and anywhere in Texas, they ain't sanctuary cities. They just aren't, right? And so what he did was he bussed all those illegal immigrants to Chicago. He said, okay, fine. You guys are sanctuary cities. Here you go. And here's what Brandon Johnson had to say about it. This is this black Chicago mayor who says he's there for black folks. This is what he has to say about Greg Abbott's act.
The issue is not just how we respond in the city of Chicago. It's the fact that we have a governor, an elected official in the state of Texas that is placing families on buses without shoes, cold, wet, tired, hungry, afraid, traumatized. And then they come to the city of Chicago where we have homelessness. We have mental health clinics that have been shut down and closed. You have people who are seeking employment. The government.
If you have all these mental health crises, you have education that's a problem. You have homeless individuals in Chicago. If you have homelessness in Chicago, and if you've got all these problems in Chicago, why do you not help your own residents? How can you help your own residents if you're a sanctuary city? Why are you a sanctuary city when you can't even help your own people? And you closed 54 public schools. You closed schools. You didn't open schools. You closed schools. That's the crazy part. He didn't have a plan for immigrant justice. He didn't have a plan for sanctuary cities. He never did.
The governor of Texas needs to take a look in the mirror of the chaos that he is causing for this country. This is not just a Chicago dynamic. He is attacking our country.
He's attacking the country. You're attacking your own citizens, you ass. Here's Kid Cabello that Jimmy Dore is going to share his clip. He's a Chicagoan, a veteran, a U.S. veteran. And here's what he has to say about Ben Johnson's stupidity.
No, what the governor did is call out a lot of these sanctuary cities for their hypocrisy. Okay? So to all these activists that are out there, I understood why people protest. I get it. That's your First Amendment right, as you should. But now we got to deal with the consequences of taking care of these people, and the city can't do it. And the residents of Chicago, from the north side to the south side to the west side, all across this city. And Chicago is a hyper-segregated city, by the way. This city's got a lot of problems. It's a powder keg ready to blow up because there's political instability, political corruption, crumbling infrastructure. 54 schools are still shut down. There's lack of clean drinking water. Half of our mental health facilities have been shut down. So it's understandable why Chicagoans are a little bit on edge now.
But let's help illegal migrants and let's make ourselves a sanctuary city.
I played this on yesterday's show, but I'll show it up here again. The city was never ready. The city was never ready for this, and there was never a plan. Sanctuary cities were only a way for liberals to feel good about themselves when Trump was president. Chicago cannot do this, and the people have a right to be angry. Let's listen to this woman right here.
Number one, I'm a native to Chicago. I was born and raised here. I've seen the changes. Don't let the age fool you for how I look, because I've been here a long time. I have seen things just transition as if a lot of people are not important here. I'm not for the sanctuary city. And the reason why I'm not for the sanctuary city is because people have waited years to come in here legally, not just transported on these buses, dropped off in our neighborhoods, raise of crime, almost got hit several times just making it down here today. And this is ludicrous. There should not be two sets of laws. Also, the West Side and the South Side Black communities have been earmarked for having funds. Never seen it.
Never.
We're still waiting on those funds to come into those communities.
Where are those funds? They spent $500 million on illegal immigrants, according to the first gentleman in the clip that we're sharing here from Jimmy Dore. But where are those funds earmarked for the Black community in the South Side of Chicago?
Brandon Johnson, many people stood behind you. They feel let down because the day you came into office, which I believe was May 15th, you already had signed an executive order. Now, whether it came from Governor Pritzker or whomever that directed you on this, is it fair to these communities that have been waiting for years? You said you on the West Side, but you should know what's going on over there as well.
Remember, this is, and I gotta say this is not about you or any of us hating illegal immigrants or hating immigrants or people of immigrant descent in general at all, because it's not their fault. They are just using a system that has been created to hurt us, the American worker and the American citizen, because the people that you should be mad at are the corporations and the billionaires who split the people up, split up unions, crushed our labor rights just so that they could bring in cheap labor, fly them in, and create this problem that we have right now. It's not the immigrants' fault. It is the fault of the corporations. And you can't blame the immigrants, because if you were in a desperate situation, you would also take advantage of it. This is the thing, is that they are taking for granted the people that are in desperate situations. They understand that these people will come to the United States of America, work a crazy, terrible, awful, difficult job in difficult working conditions, and they will take a lower wage than you will to do so. And if I were an illegal immigrant, I would be doing the exact same thing, because I might be in a conflict-ridden country. I might be in a war-torn country. I might be in a country that has no money or economic stability for my children, or to be able to feed me and my children and put food on the table and bring an income into the house. I might be homeless in my country, but coming to the United States, I might be able to crash in some shelter. If you say that, oh, immigrants are taking my jobs, they're not taking your jobs. They're being given to those people. They're being taken from you, the American worker, and given away to the illegal immigrants, because the billionaires want to save on labor costs and money. And if they can make sure that these immigrants can't strike, can't organize, can't ask for other benefits or even a better working condition, they will do it. So it's not that the immigrants are taking our jobs, and this is where the Republicans get it wrong, and some of the people that agree with these talking points, they're not taking your jobs. They've been given to the people who've been imported into the country on purpose by these billionaires and these corporations. Now, here are some more supporters, or some more Black individuals in Chicago, Black Chicagoans, ripping apart Ben Johnson, ripping his ass because he is harboring criminals who come to the country and do commit crimes, and is turning Chicago into a sanctuary city when he's not even taking care of his own people.
When the city of Chicago has millions.
By the way, he was starting to go after the extreme right.
All of this is the action of J.B. Pritzker, the Democratic governor, and Ben Johnson, the Black Democratic mayor in Chicago. And you know who he's blaming? He's not taking responsibility for his actions. He's justifying his actions by blaming it on the extreme right, not the people that are in power.
These are recent videos that came out April 17th of 2024 of Black voters calling out and confronting and speaking out against Mayor Brandon Johnson.
upon millions of dollars to give to people who ain't paid a dime into the tax base. We've been in my building for 52 years. We about to pay some more taxes. The Jones family has been in their building for 45 years, paying taxes every year on time. So I'm asking y'all to use our tax money for our people. But I tell you this, and I'm telling every other Black alderman in here today, you vote for the money for these immigrants today, and we coming for them seats. You can believe that. You're going to stop pimping the Black people's plight to get brown people, as y'all call it, money. Now, to align yourself with somebody who's obviously a one-term mayor, if he even makes it that far, you better be worrying about your job. You better be worrying about your longevity, because we're going to vote and we're going to get you out because you ain't doing right by us. That's what time it is.
All these people sitting here, they're a member of one party, the Democratic machine. These Black ones do not have our interests. They work for the master.
Thank you. I need you all to stop shouting.
And here we go. The Black mayor is punishing the Black Chicago residents for protesting his ridiculous sanctuary city bullshit policies because they closed down 54 schools. They allowed millions and millions of dollars to come out of their ass. They poured money out of their ass for these illegal immigrants, but have allowed the South Side and the West Side of Chicago to go deeper into poverty and economic instability, and are not allowing their children, to be educated. He's kicking them out because they're calling his ass out.
This is now your second warning. I'm doing my best to remain patient.
You better take it. You better do what I say. You better take what I'm doing and you better embrace it. And you better be good boys and girls, or I'm going to kick your ass out. I'm going to fuck you in the ass and you better take it. I'm going to treat your families like shit. I'm going to throw you into starvation and poverty and economic instability, and you better like it. You better love it and vote for me again. And by the way, if you're wondering, they passed the migrant funding. Not, hey, let's end poverty in Chicago. Let's reopen our public schools that we shut down, the 54 public schools. Let's end homelessness in Chicago. Let's put up more mental health clinics. They passed migrant funding.
Well, 34 aldermen voted for the 51 million. It did not come out without a lot of controversy, especially from some Black residents who say the money should go towards Chicago residents who have been neglected for years.
No, you wouldn't say. You want us to work for you? That's not what we're here for.
Very much committed to a revenue stream or revenue streams that ensure that we are dealing with the crises of those who are unhoused in the city of Chicago, while also making sure that there's room for those that we are welcoming.
We need to allocate some of this money for our Black children, for the Black community.
$51 million for migrants brought some loud and vocal opposition from the public, to the point where police had to escort people out of the city council meeting several times. Mayor Brandon Johnson asked for a 2-minute breather.
We want to make sure that we can continue to conduct the business of the people.
We are screwing in the ass for these illegal migrants. We're doing the business of screwing you over to help people that don't even pay taxes here. And some of them, most of them, I'm sure are good people, but some of them have committed crimes, and we're going to help the criminals, but not you, the people that pay taxes here in Chicago. And Brandon Johnson is the puppet of J.B. Pritzker, and J.B. Pritzker is the puppet of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris as we call her because she's cop, and the Democratic establishment and the Democratic machine, Davos, those pricks up there, the WEF, World Economic Forum, NATO, and you could say, well, they don't help America in general, just like they're not helping Chicago because they're sending funds to Ukraine and they're sending funds to Israel who doesn't need it, you know? So these are the black individuals in Chicago. These are black Chicagoans who are angry because Chicago has divested the funds that were supposed to help black citizens and the entirety of Chicago, not just black citizens. And instead, they have been shutting down their public schools, 54 public schools. They have not improved the economic stability of the city, of these black individuals. And these individuals are owed money. And instead of being given that money, they are taking that money for themselves and putting them in their pockets and giving it to the Democratic establishment, and they are giving it to these illegal migrants who ain't even put a dime into the system. That's what they're doing, okay? And remember, they said that J.B. Pritzker said, "Oh, we're going to take money from the marijuana sales and we're going to help the people," and they're not. All of a sudden, these idiots get 50,000 immigrants imported into Chicago, and all of a sudden they got $51 million they can pull out of their ass. Not to invest in Chicago, okay? Not to invest in Chicago, but for illegal migrants. Now, there's someone who agreed with Trump and the Chicago residents who also didn't want sanctuary cities, who said it was a problem if cities ignored the federal government. Someone else agreed. You want to know who it is? Joe Biden. Past Joe Biden in 2008 agreed with these Chicago residents.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason that cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level.
Now, this is him giving you a bunch of bullshit and a bunch of word salad because he doesn't actually want to tell you what he thinks. He doesn't want to give it away. Oh, whoa, we need funding. Where's the funding? Hello. We need funding. He doesn't actually want to tell you what he thinks. Watch this.
To provide
but he
for
does
the
at the
kind
end.
of enforcement of the federal
He does it
level
at
you
the
need.
end.
Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed the similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy.
And what's going on now? In-N-Out's closing in Oakland, Walmart, Target, other businesses, small and big and small. They're closing because of sanctuary cities, because of the lack of laws in California that would punish crime. They're not allowing crime in California.
Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even.
So he's upset because the Bush administration at the time is not giving enough money to the cities to coordinate and cooperate and collaborate with the federal government to enforce federal immigration law. They're not getting enough funding, and he's upset about it. That's what he's saying here.
Where's the existing
So,
law?
Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
So no, he does not agree with sanctuary cities. He absolutely vehemently disagrees with it. Huh. So I guess that Biden got switched out for walking demented, death rattle, senile Joe Biden. Okay, so that's who agrees with Trump and Homan on sanctuary cities. That's it, Joe Biden.